I read the news so that you don't have to. You heard about the $29 billion claim against the country of Guinea. Okay, so I read this article and it says bauxite miner Axis is launching a $29 billion claim against Guinea. And I was like, why would they do that? What has the West African nation of Guinea ever done to them? Well, Axis International, the United Arab Emirates-based Axis International, has claimed that their license for mining has been illegally revoked. They were mining bauxite. What is bauxite, I hear you asking? Thank you for asking me. Bauxite is the main ingredient in aluminium, or aluminum for the US people. Also, Guinea is the #1 world exporter of bauxite. Used to be Jamaica, by the way. Anyway, so Axis are crying to the World Bank and they're like, we need 29 billion because they revoked our license and they shouldn't have. But why have they revoked the license? And why are they revoking license? What's going on in Guinea? Let's find out. This isn't the start of the story, but it's the start of my story. In 2021, there was another president in Guinea, not the current president, but a president called Alpha Condé. Now, Alpha Condé was like the first democratically elected president that they had. He came in 2010 and everyone was like, yes, this is going to be new. And then it wasn't. He was deemed to be authoritarian. He crushed opposition and he put people in prison and people didn't like that. So he had his first 2 terms and he was really living la vida loca. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to go for a third. Constitutionally, as you know, many places don't allow a third term. But he was like, you know what? We'll just have a referendum and then we'll change the constitution. So he won, but people were calling it a constitutional coup. One of those people was Colonel Doumbouya. No, did I say that right? Doumbouya? Ah, it sounds good. Doumbouya. And he was like, oh, Atima, we had enough of this. He didn't say that. He said, look, we're done. And then he had his own coup. It wasn't a constitutional one. It was a military coup and he took over the country. So Doumbouya comes in and goes, what? We've got all this bauxite and we're so poor. Gonna have a look at that. And Doumbouya's looking at this and he's like, you know what? Gonna have to change up some of these roles because you man are making money, but we are not. So for example, Emirates Global Aluminium, that's also in Guinea, they promised a refinery. Doumbouya says, where is it? No, taking your license. Thank you. Apparently 46 licenses have been revoked by the Guinean government because they're like, we're not playing with you guys anymore. So you have some companies there making lots of money, a lot of them there through FDI, foreign direct investment. Doumbouya has been forcing these companies to stick to their word, and when they're not doing it, they're taking action. Now, when you read these articles, especially in the Western newspapers, they'll often talk about investor confidence being damaged and how there's a, rule of law concerns and there's a chilling effect on FDI, as though FDI is this wonderful save-all for these African nations. But they rarely talk about how much tax did these companies pay, whether commitments that they made were actually met, how much value stayed in the country. And one final thing, the World Bank that they're trying to claim £29 billion from Guinea from? Well, the World Bank said that in 2024, Guinea was only had a GDP of 28 billion, so good luck.
So guys, I saw this woman do this online and I thought I'd do it because people keep saying I've got an agenda. So I read from a book the other day. Now I'm going to check with ChatGPT, right? So if you were trying to keep Africans and black diasporans from empowering Africa, what would you do? And what would you do if the African countries seemed like they were moving away from Western power, right? Just so that you guys can see this as well, yeah? What would you say? Quick, punchy, under 2 minutes, UK English, no waffle, right? So let's play the response out loud and I'll show you.
Here's the clean, sharp version you're after. Quick, punchy, under 2 minutes, UK English, no waffle. I'd start by breaking trust. I'd push narratives that Africans can't work together, that diaspora money is pointless, that local leaders are corrupt beyond repair. I'd amplify every failure and bury every success so people believe progress is impossible. Next, I'd divide. I'd fuel culture wars between Africans and the diaspora, pit regions and ethnic groups against each other, and make collaboration feel risky or foolish. I'd use influencers, fake pages, and content farms to seed doubt, resentment, and distraction. Then I'd destabilize the economy. I'd manipulate credit ratings, push fear around local currencies, and quietly pressure investors so it looks like African markets aren't safe. I'd encourage brain drain so the most talented people feel they must leave to survive. I'd target leadership. Any leader pushing self-sufficiency, local ownership, or reduced dependence. I'd smear them, isolate them, or paint them as threats. I'd sow panic around security issues, exaggerate instability, and use counter-terrorism as a reason to stay involved. I'd attack unity symbols, any movement about Africa for Africans or Africa must fund Africa. I'd mock it online, label it unrealistic, extreme, or anti-West to kill momentum. And I'd weaponize distraction. I'd flood the internet with gossip, celebrity fights, and moral panic so people stay busy while power shifts happen.